Are you wondering whether you should claim Social Security as soon as you turn 62 or hold off for a bigger paycheck? Getting this right can dramatically change your retirement lifestyle. In this video, I will explain several of the key factors that you want to consider, and I will show you some hypothetical client scenarios and the impact of getting this right. Why is it smart for some to start benefits early, and for others, it's better to wait? For some folks, starting Social Security at the earliest age of 62 can be the best decision. But for many others, waiting to full retirement age may be best. And yet, for others, delaying all the way until age 70 is going to be the smarter decision. So why is there such a wide range of best strategies? It is because everyone has unique circumstances. Your health and life expectancy are different. Your retirement goals are different. Your portfolio and tax situation are different. Your employment status and income levels are different. Depending on your marital status, you may be eligible or will become eligible to file for benefits based on your spouse's record, or even a former spouse or a deceased spouse record. All of these factors influence the best timing and the best strategy. So you should have a copy of your Social Security statement. If you don't have one, you would just go to ssa.gov to create an account, and there you can log in and download a copy of your statement, which would include your earnings history. It's going to look something like this. You'll see that they will show you the estimated benefits based on your age that you would start those benefits. So in a nutshell, if you start your benefits early, at the early stage of 62, it will be the smallest benefit, but you'll have that benefit for more years. The FRA, the full retirement age, is what's considered, when you would get your full benefit. These days, that's typically going to be age 67. And then you could choose to delay all the way till 70 and earn delayed retirement credits of 8%. And so now this is what a break-even chart looks like. And you don't want to use a break-even chart to, really make your decision on Social Security, but it's just a part of the, it's just something to help you understand and conceptualize how Social Security works. Okay, so the red line in this chart is showing if someone was to start their benefits at 62, and we're assuming that they live to about age 86 in this example. And then the green line is assuming you don't start all the way till 70. And so you have no income up until 70, but then when those benefits start, they're much larger. And in this case, it takes about, the crossover point is about age 79. So at that point, from age 79 on, the person that delayed is going to have larger benefits. So this is where it really comes into life expectancy, because if you live to age 85 or more, that's where there's really going to be some significant additional money from Social Security in those later years. And, we're talking, hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on how long you live. Now, longevity, this is according to the Society of Actuaries. They said if a man and a woman are married, there is a 50% chance one of them will live to age 92. And so, especially married people, they kind of have to consider the longevity of one of you, because when you both are getting a benefit, when one passes away, the smaller of the two benefits goes away, the larger benefit becomes the survivor's benefit. And so these are all important things to take into account. Now, this is a chart that you may recognize. I've used this in the past, but just to give you a visual, right? If you claim your benefits at 62, you're taking a 30% reduction in the benefit, and that's permanent reduction for the rest of your life. If you wait just 1 year, it's a 25% reduction. If you wait another year, 20, 13, 7, at full retirement age, you'd be considered getting your full benefit. If you waited 1 year, that benefit is going to be increased by 8%, another 8%, and another 8%, up to age 70. There is never a benefit for going beyond age 70. One of the problems with claiming early, at 62, has to do with the earnings limit, because there's a lot of people that will say, well, I just want to claim, save the money or invest the money, but I'm going to continue working. Well, Social Security has an earnings limit. So in 2026, if you are earning over $24,480, Social Security is going to withhold 50% of everything above that limit. A lot of times people just don't take this part of it into account. Now, in the year that you reach your full retirement age, the limit is higher. You could earn $65,160 and no penalties. Anything over that, $1 should be withheld for every $3 above that limit. So the penalty is not quite as stiff. If you look at this chart, you basically, from age 62 to 67, the earnings limit applies. Well, you're going to have penalties. Once you reach 67, there is no earnings limit. So if you wanted to keep working and earn money, there's no problem with that. So not only would you be dealing with penalties and Social Security benefits being withheld, but you're also going to have some extra tax on the Social Security benefits. It really does not make a lot of sense most of the time to claim early when you are still working and you still have an income, unless your income is low, right? If you're under 24,000, then there is no problem at that level. But if you're earning more than that, then you're going to be bumping up against these two issues. So how does the Social Security tax work? Just a kind of a quick refresher here. They're going to take any taxable income that you have, earned income, rental income, capital gains, whatever you've got going on, any distributions from retirement accounts, IRAs, or 401ks. They're going to take that number, and then they're going to take 50% of your annual Social Security benefit. They add that all together, and that is your provisional income number. Your provisional income is then applied to these thresholds. And so if you're single and your threshold, your provisional income number is over $25,000, 50% of your Social Security benefits will be taxed as ordinary income. And if you're over $34,000, it'd be 85% is taxed as ordinary income. And then for married couples, it's $32,000 and $44,000. Okay. So you still have Social Security tax to deal with up until age 65. I mean, in reality, the Social Security tax is always in all years going to be calculated. It has to be determined. It's just that there are some those extra deductions that you get at 65 that should offset it for most people. But the tax is actually still there. That has to be determined. Now, having said all that, it sounds like I'm making a strong case to not claim your benefits at 62, but to delay. And the truth is, it just depends on your situation, because claiming your benefits early at 62 can make a lot of sense for certain people. For example, if you're truly going to retire at 62, you're not going to be working, you don't have the earnings limit to worry about, you're not going to have, well, you still may have some tax issues on Social Security prior to 65. And if you have a good size portfolio, so if you have a portfolio that is invested, and now we have a whole other component that comes into play, and that is the opportunity costs on those funds. Because if you're actually going to retire early and then you delay Social Security, where's your income coming from? So if you're taking withdrawals from a portfolio early in your retirement, that could be offset by going ahead and starting your Social Security benefits early. It's going to preserve that portfolio and give it more of a time horizon where it could, with compound interest, potentially outperform in a very nice way. So another example would be just simply, someone maybe in poor health and you don't expect to have a long life expectancy. That's going to be, an obvious reason to claim your benefits early. Or if you're just not able to work any longer and you just really need the money, sometimes you got to do what you got to do. So there are very different reasons why some people will want to start at 62, some at 63, 64, all the way up to 70. And for some people, specifically those who have not saved very much for retirement. They have either a very small retirement portfolio or no portfolio. Those, in that situation, deferring as long as possible is going to make the most sense, and working as long as possible, because you don't want to retire and just be stuck with a low fixed income. And so that's where it really would make sense to defer as long as you can, work as long as you can, so that at age 70, your benefit is larger and it will carry you the rest of the way. So now I want to show you a case study. And this is a hypothetical client case study, and show you the impact of some of these planning decisions, okay? So we have John, age 63, and his wife, Jane, 62. John has a Social Security full retirement benefit of $2,520, and Jane has an FRA of $1,185. John has $850,000 saved in his 401k, and they also have $350,000 in a non-qualified joint account, okay? And all of their money is invested using kind of a traditional balanced approach, 60% stocks, 40% bonds, and their income need in retirement is $6,000 per month after tax. So they want a net $6,000, okay, to maintain their lifestyle. Another important piece of information is John anticipates living to around age 85, and Jane assumes that she will live to at least 90 based on her family history. So we took their information and we analyzed it, and based on making no changes, based on the way they have things set up right now, their probability of success is only 58%. Not too great. It might work out for them, but there's, a 42% chance that it won't. And that's not going to be good enough, right, for most people. And they really don't have much of a defense for sequence risk. So if they were to hit a bear market in their first 5-10 years of retirement, it would really be devastating to them, and they would run out prematurely. So we made some adjustments just to their Social Security, okay? With just some Social Security strategies and no other strategies yet, we're actually able to get their portfolio success probability to 77%. So it was a nice jump, but still not good enough, right? We can do better than that. But that kind of shows you in one example of just how much some good planning, what difference that can make. So now if we make some other financial decisions and we look at their portfolio and we adjust it, we change how it's allocated, we build in some protections against sequence risk, and we also look at taxes. We look at some Roth conversion strategies and getting them more tax efficient. And the outcome here is their probability of success is increased all the way to 93%. And so when you look at this, these three scenarios going from 58% to 77% to 93%, it really is that significant, depending on a combination of financial decisions and positioning yourself for a retirement income plan. When we think of retirement, if you just use the word retirement planning, a lot of times people are just thinking about saving enough to get to the point where they can retire, right? We call these the accumulation years. It's the years while you're working and saving, and then you get to the point where you're ready to retire. But the strategies that you used to get yourself to retirement will not get you through retirement. So as you get to the top of the mountain, you look down and you realize you have many years or decades in retirement unemployed, right? And you need to know where your income is going to come from. And there's decisions that you never had to deal with before. There are risks that you didn't have to deal with before. You have a withdrawal rate risk. You have sequence of returns risk. What about the right Social Security strategy? What about Medicare? What about IRMA? What about required minimum distributions and just being tax efficient? And so how do you know that you're going to have enough sufficient after-tax income? And it's really a more complex financial planning process that you need to make sure you're going to have adequate funds. You don't want to be halfway down the mountain and run short of funds, right? So just a couple other concepts here. Volatility you become much more sensitive to volatility in your retirement years than you are in your pre-retirement years. So and it's important to understand the impact of volatility. Okay, so conceptual example here. If you have $100,000 in the market, and let's say we experienced a 40% drop, something crazy happens and we lose 40%, your 100,000 is now worth 60,000, right? But what if following that 40% loss, there is a 40% gain? The market has always recovered, right? But it's a question of how long does it take to recover? But let's say it lost 40, it gained 40. In your mind, you might think, well, I'm back to where I was. But no, you're actually down 16%, right? So what if we had a 60% gain following the 40% loss? That sounds like we should be more than back to where we were, but we're not. You're still down 4%. So how much of a return do we need following a 40% loss to get back to where we were? It takes 67% return. Now, the thing is when you're in retirement and you're taking withdrawals for income, now you have just made it that much more difficult to get back. And so that's where the sequence of the returns really has a big impact. And if you're kind of unfortunate with a bear market in the first 5 to 10 years of retiring, that's where it can really spin out and you're not able to recover. And so you've got to have a plan and a strategy to protect yourself against sequence of returns risk. Now, when we talk about market risk, we use the words, conservative, moderate, aggressive. But what do those words mean to you? They may mean something different to someone else, right? So we have a system to help kind of measure your comfort level with volatility. If you look at my screen here, we have a rating system. So a risk score of 1 would mean there's no market risk. So that'd be very, very safe. Aggressive would be all the way at 99. So somewhere in between 1 and 99, you're going to fall as far as your risk level that you're comfortable with. But there's how much risk you're comfortable with, but there's also the question of how much risk do you have in your current portfolio. And we see a lot of portfolios come across our desk, and it's very common to see that a portfolio actually has a lot more risk than what the clients thought they had or wanted to have. So you may have more risk in your portfolio than you think you have. And so that's one of the things that we do is that we help assess that. And you don't need to take more risks than absolutely necessary. So to just kind of show you how this works, if you had a risk score of 71, your volatility, and this is with a 95% probability within a 6-month time frame, your investments could be down 15.4%, or they could be up 22%. That's what a 71 risk score would give you. That is the window of volatility. And then looking at another example here, much more conservative, a risk score of 31, you'd have a downside of only 5% with an upside of 9. Everyone's risk tolerance is going to be different, and we have a really nice tool to help us measure that, figure that out. So let me show you another example. This is another hypothetical client where they came into our office and they showed us, everything that they're doing. We did an analysis on their portfolio and on their plan, and they had a risk score of 71, and their success probability was 75. Not terrible, but still could certainly be improved. And after we made some adjustments to portfolio, adjustments to some of the tax strategies, building out a specific retirement income plan, we were able to take their success probability all the way to 96%. And at the same time, significantly reducing their exposure to the market, bringing their risk score down to 32. Now, I would like to personally invite you to take advantage of our complimentary consultation available in all 50 states. At my financial planning firm, Martinsen Wealth Management, my team of experienced professionals is ready to help you build a retirement blueprint designed to maximize both your income and your legacy. What truly sets us apart is the quality of our planning. At Martinsen Wealth Management, we provide holistic, comprehensive solutions tailored to your individual needs, both now and throughout your entire retirement journey. For a complimentary consultation, you can visit our website, martinsenwealth.com, where you'll find our phone number and a convenient online form to request an appointment. We look forward to being of service, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Financial Fast Lane.